Today in our 2018 Chevrolet Equinox, we're going to be installing Roadmaster's taillight wiring kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-152-LED. And in conjunction with this, we're also going to be using Roadmaster's 7-wire to 6-wire straight cord kit, part number RM-98146-7. This lighting kit is going to allow you to transfer those signals from inside your RV back to the vehicle that you're flat towing behind you. So you'll have all the necessary lightings, which include your left turn signal, right turn signal, tail lamps, and brake lamps. Since these bulbs are separate, we don't have to tap into the vehicle's wiring system, so you don't have to worry about voiding that wiring warranty. The wiring from your taillights is run up to your front 6-pole connector on your vehicle, which then connects to the 7-pole on your RV. So that's how you get all of your required braking signals. It features ultra-bright LED bulbs, which have a much longer life than your typical incandescent bulbs. This is great because changing these bulbs can be a little bit tedious due to the sealing required to keep your taillights from leaking moisture. There is some drilling required to get these bulbs installed. Let's show you how to do that now. We'll begin our installation at our passenger taillight assembly. We're going to go ahead and remove it by popping out these center tabs here to access our screws. You can just use a flat-bladed screwdriver to get behind them and just pry them outward. Might need to work around them a little bit. We'll remove the 2 Torx screws using a T15 socket. And now we can just pull rearward to remove our assembly. If you're having difficulties getting it out, you can use a body panel removal tool and just get behind it to just help you push it away from the body. This will keep you from scratching the paint and causing any damage. Once you've got it removed, go ahead and disconnect both your connectors, push in the release tab and pull outward. And on your gray connector, we'll push in on the release tab here and pull outward. You can set this aside, and now repeat this same process on the driver's side. We're now ready to modify our taillights to use our LED sockets. We'll now make our pilot hole for where our bulb is going to be placed. We're going to put it along this face here. This is where our original taillight bulb was. We removed it. We're just using a 1/8 drill bit just to make a little hole there. And then switch to a 1-inch hole saw. You'll then want to take a screwdriver to pry out the little tabs. This will make it snap into the hole that we just cut. Just work your way around the bulb, prying each one out. Now we can take some silicone and smear it all around the inner edge of our socket here. And then insert the bulb. After the bulb snaps in, again take your silicone and go all the way around the back side. We're now going to take a piece of airline hose. You can use a coat hanger or anything else that's pretty stiff but still flexible to go from our open passenger side tail lamp assembly here, down behind the bumper, out the bottom. And we're going to use this as a pull wire to feed our wiring back up from down below. We'll now tape our wiring in our kit to the airline that we just ran down, and this will make it much easier to pull it back up through. Just work it all the way up around the top, and then just pull it back up. Now we're going to do the same pull wire trick on our driver's side. On our driver's side here, we went ahead and just folded it in half because we're going to need that wire to run from one side to the other. And we're going to again tape it up and run it up to the top. We're back on our passenger side taillight wire. We need to separate each of the colors. Just use your snips to cut in between each color. And then you can just pull them apart. We'll start by connecting our green wire. Go ahead and strip it back. And this is going to connect to the red wire on our tail lamp bulb that we installed. use one of these small blue crimp connectors. Crimp it onto the green. And then connect the other end to the red wire that we installed in our tail lamp assembly. Now use another blue butt connector and connect it to the brown wire. We'll then connect the other end of the brown wire on our bulb. Now you want to peel back some of your yellow wire here. We're going to go ahead and cut off the little bit of excess we've got. We've got about a foot maybe. This wire is not going to be hooked up on this side, so we're going to use this to extend our ground wire. Strip back your white wire, and then strip back both ends of the yellow wire. Now twist your yellow wire in with your white wire on your vehicle side, and crimp that into one of the yellow butt connectors. Then take the other end of the yellow wire and crimp that onto your small ring terminal. And then take the other end of the yellow butt connector that we crimped onto our white and yellow and connect that to the black wire on our bulb. Take the small self-tapping screw provided in your kit, and we're going to thread that right behind our tail lamp assembly here at a nice low location. You can now reinstall your passenger side tail lamp assembly. Make sure to plug in your connectors. After you've reinstalled your bolts, snap your protective covers back on. We're now back on our driver's side. We can cut back our pull wire from when we pulled it up. And we want to pull the wire kind of taut. We want to see, this is our loose end that we're going to be running to the front, and this is the end that ran over to our passenger side. So we want to have some slack so we can pull out our headlamp assembly in the future. So we're going to have about that much wire there. That's a good amount of excess. Now we're going to cut the yellow, the brown, and the white. But we're not going to cut the green. The green needs to stay connected because that is going to connect to your 7-pole at the front of the vehicle. We've now taken the wire that runs over to our passenger side and separated them. We're going to strip back our white and our brown, but we do not need to strip back the yellow on this wire because it's not going to be connected to anything. So we can just make a little knot in it so that we know that this wire is not going to be connected. We've then stripped back all 3 wires on our other set of wires. Again, this is the set that's going to run towards the front of the vehicle. We're going to twist the 2 white wires together, and we're also going to twist the 2 brown wires together. Slide on a yellow butt connector onto the brown wires. Crimp them together. Then we'll slide on the other yellow butt connector onto our white wires and crimp them together. And then take your blue butt connector and put it on the yellow wire. We'll now take our white wires and crimp that onto the black wire on our driver's side tail lamp assembly on the bulb that we installed. You'll then crimp the yellow wire to the red wire and then the brown wires to the brown wire. You can now reinstall your driver's side tail lamp assembly. Just tuck those wires down, plug in your brake lamp and your marker lamp, push it back into place, then reinstall your Torx head bolts. We'll now need to route the rest of our wire up to the front of our vehicle. Now when you route this wire, you want to make sure you avoid any moving objects, such as your steering or suspension components, and any hot objects, such as your exhaust system. It's best to run with your factory wiring whenever possible. I'm going to route this wire now, and then I'll show you how I did it after. We've routed our wire back up above our rear suspension. Then we came down and went alongside of our fuel tank. And then here we ran along this entire plate. Now to get this wire in here, I did have to use a 10mm socket, and I removed each of the nuts here on the side, and I tucked it in and then put the nuts back on. Then runs out the cover. We've then routed our wire up the firewall. Then we went down the fender, up underneath, through our core support, and down to where we're going to connect it to our base plate here at the front. Now we do have our front fascia removed, as it is recommended that you do this installation at the same time that you install your base plate, because you're going to need your braking system and your lighting components and everything else. We'll now cut the ends of our wire that we ran up, separating the different colors. Peel them back to separate them. Then we'll strip back some of the wires on each of our colors. Slide your boot with the small end first over your wiring. And then we can connect it to our 6-pole. We'll then connect our wires to the appropriate spots on our 6-pole connector. GD stands for ground, which is our white wire. So we'll unscrew that. We'll slide in our white wire and then thread it back down. Next, we're going to install the brown wire into the one labeled TM. That's for our taillights. We'll install the yellow wire in the one labeled LT for a left turn, which is the wire that we connected to our driver's side tail lamp assembly. And last, we'll connect our green wire to the one labeled RT for right turn signal. And then we can use the self-tapping screws provided in the kit to connect our 6-pole connector to our base plate. We can now prepare our 6 to 7-pole adapter cable that'll connect between our vehicle and our RV. Now we've got our tow bars here laid out in front of us because these particular tow bars have a channel that allows that cable to run through them. So we have to run it through before we set that up. We'll now need to separate our 6-pole end so we can connect our wires to it. Use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove that screw, and then to also loosen this back screw, which holds our wiring in place. Slide your wires through the back opening, out the front, and then we can connect them to this end here. Loosen up the screws on your connector here. We're going to start with ground, which is labeled G next to the screw, which will go to our white wire. Just slide your white wire in there and tighten it back down. Next to our white wire here will be our tail lights labeled T, which will be our brown wire. Next to that is going to be our brake signal wire, which is our blue wire. Next to that is going to be the right turn signal labeled R. Which is going to be our green wire. And the last one on the outside is going to be labeled L for left turn, which will be our yellow wire. And finally we have our center wire, which is the black wire for our auxiliary charge. To help keep out moisture and corrosion, we're going to use some dielectric grease on the back here. You can pick some of this up here at eTrailer.com if you need some. We'll slide it back into our housing, lining up the screw hole on both of them, and threading in the small screw that we removed. Lastly, we'll take our cable holder, put the curved end facing down, and thread our screw back in. This will help prevent our wires from getting pulled out. You don't want to over tighten it, just make it snug so it holds the sheathing. Now we can hook it up to our RV or to our tester here and make sure everything's working properly. Here we have our tail lights, left turn, right turn, and brake lights. And with everything working properly, we can go back and button up our project here, clean up all of our wiring with the zip ties provided in the kit, and make it all nice and neat. So to complete our entire flat tow setup, we're going to be using Roadmaster's base plate, part number RM-523193-5, taillight wiring kit, part number RM-152-LED, tow bar, part number RM-522, and in conjunction with this, we're also going to be using Roadmaster's 7-wire to 6-wire straight cord kit, part number RM-98146-7. Charge light kit, part number RM-156-25, SMI braking system, part number SM99251, Roadmaster safety chain cables, part number RM-645, and Roadmaster's high-low adapter, part number RM-072-2. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's taillight wiring kit for towed vehicles on our 2018 Chevrolet Equinox.
Thanks for watching. Click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at eTrailer.com. And leave us a comment if you have any questions.